You don't owe the world an explanation. Not for your goals, not for your silence, not for the way you're building something they can't see yet. We live in a time where everyone broadcasts their every move. They post before they act. They speak before they think. And then they wonder why things fall apart so easily. But here's the truth. Real power moves in silence. Not because it's scared, but because it's focused. When nobody knows your plan, they can't interrupt it. They can't question it. They can't tear it down before it's even built. Stoic wisdom teaches us this again and again. Keep your vision close. Keep your emotions steady. Keep your work sacred, because the more noise you create, the more energy you lose. And if they doubt you, good. That's part of the process. Let them misunderstand you. Let them think you're lost. Meanwhile, you're building in silence, one move at a time. And when it's time to show the world, you won't need words. You'll have results, so if you're one of those people, quietly rebuilding, silently rising, refusing to quit, comment below. Let the world know you're still in the game. You're not loud, but you're dangerous. You're not seen, but you're coming. And you're not done, not even close. Now, let's break this down. Here's how silence becomes your sharpest weapon, and how not being understood is the greatest edge you'll ever have. Part 1. Control is power, not visibility. The moment you stop needing to be seen is the moment you start becoming unstoppable. Because control doesn't come from being visible. It comes from being deliberate. It comes from knowing what you're doing, even if no one else gets it. Most people think attention is power, but that's just noise. Real power is precision. Real power is when you know exactly where you're headed, and you don't need anyone to clap for you to keep going. Let them guess, let them doubt. Part of your advantage. See, the more visible you are, the more people start reaching for your steering wheel. They throw in opinions. They poke holes. They try to mold your journey into something they can understand. And once that happens, your direction no longer belongs to you. It starts bending toward their fears, their doubts, their limits. But when your plan is yours, when it lives quietly in your chest and not in the mouths of others, you control the pace. You control the outcome. You control the pressure. People confuse being loud with being strong. But the strongest ones aren't the ones shouting from rooftops. They're the ones quietly sharpening their tools, building brick by brick when no one's watching. They're not showing off the grind. They're just grinding. You don't need permission to go after what's yours. You don't need likes, retweets, approval. You don't need to explain every move or justify every step. That urge to explain, that's your ego wanting comfort. But growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from clarity and consistency. Even when you feel invisible, silence protects your energy. It protects your momentum. Because every time you talk about what you're going to do, your brain thinks you've already done it. That rush you feel when you share your goals, it's fake progress, it's illusion, and it kills more dreams than failure ever will. You want to really win? Stop previewing your life like a movie trailer. Just make the movie. Let it hit when it's done. Let it speak for itself. And here's what most people never realize. The world doesn't need to know what you're building to be impacted by it. They'll feel it when it's real, when it's finished, when it hits them in the face, and all they can say is, "I didn't see that coming." And that's the point. They weren't supposed to. So keep your fire close. Don't let the noise in. You're not missing out. You're not falling behind. You're just moving in silence. And that's one of the rarest, deadliest forms of focus left in this world. Control isn't about dominating others. It's about mastering yourself, your emotions, your time, your next move. Because the more chaos you ignore, the more clarity you gain. And that's what makes you dangerous. Remember, real power doesn't need to announce itself. It just walks in, calm and unbothered, and everything around it changes. They don't need to know your plan. They just need to feel the impact when it's done. Let's keep going. Part 2. Silence forces them to watch, not predict. Let them guess. Let them wonder what you're up to. Let them assume you've stopped. Let them whisper to each other what happened to him, while you build quietly in the background. Because the moment people stop hearing from you, they start watching. That's the paradox. When you talk less, their curiosity grows. When you go quiet, their eyes follow. They start checking your page, watching your moves. They're trying to figure you out because your silence unsettles them. And that's exactly where your power begins. See, the world is addicted to predictability. People like putting others in boxes. He's this kind of person. She'll never do that. That's just who they are. But when you stop feeding their assumptions, when you say nothing, you rip the box open. You become unreadable. And unreadable people are dangerous. Your silence becomes tension. It becomes energy. It becomes pressure that builds in the background until you show up with something they didn't see coming. Because here's what most people never realize. When they can't predict you, they can't control you. If they know what you're planning, they can preempt it. If they know what you're feeling, they can manipulate it. If they know what drives you, they can weaponize it. But if you move in silence, if you hold your vision close, if you keep your strategy private, they lose that advantage. And the moment they lose that control, you gain all of it. This isn't about hiding. It's about owning your space. It's about realizing you don't have to explain your every step just to feel valid. You don't need to be seen all the time to be working all the time. Let them make their own story. Let them fill in the blanks with doubt. Let them assume you're stagnant just because you're silent. You'll thank them later. When the silence turns into results they can't ignore. Because when you do show up, when your work finally hits the surface, they won't just be surprised. They'll be stunned. And that silence you kept, it'll echo louder than any speech you could have given. So stay unreadable, keep your composure, and let your unpredictability become your armor. The loud ones, they reveal their hand too early. But you've got the patience to let them talk while you move. And that's the difference between noise and strategy. Let's go deeper. Part 3. Prove it with results, not promises. Talk is cheap. And deep down, most people know it. Even the ones who do it the most. They say they're gonna make it. They have big plans. They just need a little more time. And while they're saying all that, someone else is building. Quietly, no announcements, no hype, no begging for belief, just work. The Stoics never flexed, they never promised, they acted because they understood something. Modern culture forgets, words don't build empires, actions do. And when you're really on your path, when you're really locked in, you don't feel the need to keep talking about it. In fact, the more you're aligned with your purpose, the less you explain. Because you know what you're doing, and that's enough. Think about it. The people who actually make it don't run around shouting about it every day. They're too busy moving, too busy executing. They don't have time to prove anything to anyone, because their life will prove it for them. But most people don't want to wait for that. They want instant recognition. So they post their dreams online and get a hit of validation before they've even started. That dopamine feels good in the moment, but it kills your drive. Because now your brain thinks you've already achieved something, and your hunger fades. Don't fall for that trap. You don't need to talk about your goals. You need to work on your goals. You don't need to convince anyone to believe in you. Just build something so undeniable they can't ignore it. Because when your results start showing up in your health, your income, your mindset, your energy, people will know. They'll feel it in your presence. They'll see it in your eyes. They'll hear it in your voice. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you've done the work. And that's when your silence becomes louder than their promises. Because nothing speaks louder than momentum. You don't have to respond to critics. You don't have to justify your progress. You don't have to convince anyone that you're on the right path. Your life becomes the evidence, so stop explaining, stop forecasting, stop narrating a future you haven't built yet, and just build. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them roll their eyes, because the day you show up quietly, fully, powerfully, there won't be anything left to say. Part 4. Let doubt become fuel. There's something powerful about being doubted. Not when it breaks you, but when you learn to use it. Every time someone underestimates you, you're handed a choice. You can shrink, or you can sharpen. You can collapse into their opinions, or you can quietly stack your wins behind the scenes. Because here's the truth. The people who doubt you aren't your problem. Your response to them is, let them think you're not serious. Let them whisper that you fell off. Let them tell each other he doesn't have what it takes. Good, that's fuel. Because nothing lights a fire like being overlooked. And the more they write you off, the more room you have to work without distraction. No expectations, no pressure, no eyes on you. Just space, pure, clean space, to build in peace. You see, doubt doesn't destroy people. Ego does. It's your ego that wants to clap back. It's your ego that wants to prove a point, argue, defend, be understood. But when you let go of that, when you stop needing their approval, you unlock a new kind of freedom. You get to move without explanation. You get to rebuild without applause. You get to rise without permission. And when you show up stronger, clearer, more dialed in, you don't have to say a word. Your presence will speak for itself. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. ... It is not your job to be judged by them. Exactly, your job is to become undeniable, to keep building, to let every doubt thrown your way become weight that makes you stronger. Let it sharpen you, let it fuel you, and when it's time, when you've put in the hours, the reps, the mindset, you'll come back so locked in that even your enemies go silent. You're not here to be liked. You're not here to be understood. You're here to become who you were meant to be, with or without their belief.